This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Tuesday the 24th day of September in the year 2019. Here's what we're tracking tonight. The International Court of Justice has informed the Guyana government that it will hear oral arguments on its jurisdiction in the border route case against Venezuela. Oral arguments will take place in The Hague from the 23rd to the 27th of March next year. Guyana moved to the court for a final settlement on the border controversy following the advice of the Secretary General of the United Nations. Venezuela has said the ICJ has no jurisdiction to hear and determine the matter. The government of Guyana has welcomed the announcement of the date for the oral arguments. According to a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the hearing will determine whether the court has jurisdiction over the case filed by Guyana on the 29th of March last year. Guyana is seeking to obtain a final and binding judgment from the court that the 1899 arbitral award, which established the location of the land boundary between then British Guyana and Venezuela, remains valid and binding, and that Guyana's Essequibo region belongs to Guyana and not Venezuela. Venezuela has claimed in a letter to the court that the Secretary General exceeded his authority under the Geneva Agreement and that the court therefore lacks jurisdiction to adjudicate the matter. Venezuela has indicated that it will not participate in the proceedings. The Guyana Ministry of Foreign Affairs said on the well-established judicial precedent, the court will proceed to decide if it has jurisdiction over Guyana's claim, irrespective of whether or not Venezuela participates in the proceedings. If it decides that it has jurisdiction, the court will proceed to rule on the merits of those claims and decide whether the validity of the 1899 arbitral award and the border between the two states should be confirmed. Under the UN Charter and the court's own rules, its final judgments both on jurisdiction and the merits will be legally binding on Guyana and Venezuela, whether or not Venezuela participates in the proceedings. Guyana continues to express the hope that Venezuela will participate to indicate respect for the court and the international rule of law, the peaceful settlement of disputes, and the promotion of friendly relations between both states. The government of Guyana said it welcomes the prospect of a final and binding decision by the court that will definitively resolve the long-standing controversy and allow Guyana and Venezuela to proceed to develop excellent and close relations as neighboring states. More news coming up in just a moment.
Hi Guyana, I am Ambika Ramraj, Miss World Guyana 2018 and your GTT Pinktober Ambassador for 2019. Pinktober is GTT's flagship event aimed at raising cancer awareness and facilitating access to support for all Guyanese. In 2017, we raised $4 million. In 2018, we nearly tripled that amount. Thus, we have been able to continue our fight against cancer by providing support to multiple foundations such as the Giving Hope Foundation and GRPA. This year, our aim is to do even more, but we need your help. Become a corporate sponsor for Pinktober 2019. Visit our website www.gtt.co.gy/Pinktober 2019 for more information on how. GTT is in the business of saving lives, so join us now.
Experience bliss in an exclusive atmosphere as Universe boss Chris Gale celebrates his 40th birthday in Guyana.
Batman out and stunting. Chris Gale Kyle kick like dumpling.
40 Shades of Gale featuring Kes the Band live and in concert.
If you're coming down from the mountain, oh God,
At the Arthur Chung Conference Center on Saturday, 5th October. Early bird tickets, $3,000. General, $4,000. Stage front, $10,000. 40 Shades of Gale. Party with the Universe boss, Chris Gale, and a star-studded cast of international cricketers. 40 Shades of Gale. Featuring Kes the Band live and in concert at the Arthur Chung Conference Center on Saturday, 5th October.
All across our nation, Guyana, we see it in your lives. The future growing even stronger. GBTI.
heard right. Fuel up at Guy Oil $5,000 or more and enter to win. Tune in to Jumpstart on 94.1 FM Monday and Friday to receive your call to win big. Check Facebook for participating locations and more details.
Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy. Fuel it up and win.
Welcome back. The Central Bank of Guyana has denied Republic Bank's takeover of the operations of Scotia Bank in Guyana. The two banks have been informed of the Central Bank's decision, according to Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Gobin Ganga. Dr. Ganga told News Source this evening that a complete evaluation of the takeover plan was done, and a decision was made not to grant approval to the proposed move. He said there were a number of factors that influenced that decision, including competition and concentration in the market. It was back in November last year that Scotiabank announced plans to sell all of its Guyana operations to Republic Bank Holdings Limited, which is the parent company of Republic Bank. The government of Guyana immediately raised its concern and pointed out that with Republic Bank currently holding 35.4% of the banking system's assets and 36.8% of deposits in Guyana, its acquisition of Scotiabank would push its stake in the local banking sector to over 51% of both assets and deposits. Scotiabank has moved to sell out its operations in 8 other Caribbean nations. Approval has been granted in at least 7 of those nations, with Antigua being the other country strongly objecting to the takeover plan. Well, 3 days after his deportation from the U.S., convicted narco-trafficker Shahid Roger Khan was released from police custody this afternoon on $200,000 station bail. Khan's attorney Glenn Hanneman said he will have to report to the police every week as the police continue the murder investigations against him. Through his attorney, Roger Khan has said he had nothing to do with the execution of talk show host Ronald Waddle and boxing coach Donald Allison. Since his deportation on Friday night, Khan remained in custody and was grilled about the murder of the men back in 2005 and 2006. Police investigators intend to seek the advice of the Director of Public Prosecutions as they continue their probe and seek to widen the probe to other persons who are believed to have been the victims of the Phantom Death Squad that haunted Guyana in the early and mid-2000s. Roger Khan recently completed a 10-year jail sentence for narco-trafficking after opting for a plea deal with U.S. prosecutors. The details of that deal have never been made known. Turning now to the telecommunications sector, as GTT repositions itself to do more in the local telecommunications sector, a big part of that effort will focus on customer relations and improved services. At a press conference this morning, the Chief Executive Officer of GTT, Justin Ned, said the company remains in good financial standings, although it continues to see a decline in landline usage and international calls. He said those declines are not surprising, as it is a phenomenon that is already happening globally. Ned said in the last 3 years alone, GTT has seen 20,000 people surrender their landline service.
So we've seen 20,000 people give up their landline services in the last 3 years, right? At the same time, that's not, if I sat here and sounded like, oh my gosh, this is such a shocker, like I don't know what to do, that'd be quite disingenuous, because all I need to do is look at another country, a more developed country. It happens. Like nobody uses a landline. Think about all the family or friends you've got, say in the US. How many of them you call on their landline phone, right? Like nobody's really maintains a landline. So we see that part of the business continuing to decline. We see international long distance. Remember the days when it was like $300 a minute or something? Like now, you just hit a WhatsApp call and it's zero.
The GTT Chief Executive Officer said the company is paying attention to how other countries are addressing the issue and is likely to follow their lead in addressing the decline.
It's not surprising. The advantage that we have here in Guyana is that we are not going to be the first to see something. So you don't have to be a genius or be surprised or invent anything. You just look elsewhere, copy and paste. Okay, so that happens. So what are you going to do as a business? So we are overall, I think we're in a good position. We continue to roll out the internet services. We continue to look for ways to better manage the business.
While landline service and international calling services are down, there is an increased demand for high-speed internet service. The CEO said more communities will be benefiting from GTT's Blaze service, and for those communities with a DSL service, they will see improved and faster service. He also said he is aware of many of the issues that customers would complain about regularly, and the company is making moves to address them. He pointed out that GTT intends to seriously address the waiting time for complaints and improve on response times.
When somebody makes a complaint, we get that reference number. I can tell you exactly why it wasn't actioned. And there are ramifications for that. And the staff understands that there are ramifications for that. Sometimes we solve it in an hour, sometimes we solve it in 5 weeks. That's not good enough. If we say 2 days, it's got to be 2 days. So that's a work in progress. Once there are specific complaints, we attempt to address them, understand the root cause, and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
On the issue of liberalization, Mr. Ned said the Guyana market is already a free-for-all when it comes to liberalization. He said in reality the sector has been liberalized as it is pretty much open season. Ned said the company continues to face an issue too with the vandals attacking its cable networks across the country. Many of the outages that customers have faced could be traced to the damaged cables. President David Granger last evening thanked the People's Republic of China for its contribution to the infrastructural development of Guyana through a number of major projects. The president was speaking at a reception hosted by the Chinese Embassy in celebration of the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. President Granger said China has been a reliable partner in the development of Guyana's human resources.
Guyana is grateful to China for its contribution to infrastructure development of our country through the construction and rehabilitation of this very building, the Arthur Chung Conference Center, the upgrading of the Chedi Jagan International Airport, the construction of a 4-lane highway on the east coast of Demerara, and the Sheriff Street Mandela Avenue Road Enhancement Project.
The president reaffirmed his government's commitment to continuing the robust friendship which exists between Guyana and China. And the Chinese ambassador shared the same views.
The two peoples have maintained a close friendship. The two governments have continuously deepened pragmatic cooperation in various areas such as infrastructure, agriculture, trade, investment, information technology, and public health, and etc.
The two countries have given a commitment to continue to work together in a number of areas. While the opposition People's Progressive Party Civic has indicated that it intends to continue with its protest action until President David Granger sets a date for elections. The party held a candlelight protest last evening close to the Arthur Chung Convention Center where the president was attending the Chinese embassy reception. Former Presidents Sam Hines, Bharat Jagdeo, and Donald Ramotar boycotted the events. Hines and Jagdeo instead joined the protest outside the center. The protesters were kept a good distance away from the center, but chanted that they wanted elections now. The Commonwealth Group of Nations and the Private Sector Commission of Guyana are the two latest organizations to call on President David Granger to set an election date. The Commonwealth, in a statement yesterday, said its Secretary General has spoken with the GCOM chair and has pledged the Commonwealth's support to the Elections Commission. Well, as the Guyana Elections Commission prepares for general and regional elections in the new year, the Commission will begin the claims and objections period from the 1st of October. It will likely run over into the month of November. The decision was taken at today's meeting of the Guyana Elections Commission. The Commission also agreed that the qualifying date for the elections will be on the 31st of December. Additionally, it was also agreed by majority that the Commission will write to the U.S. government and the Commonwealth for advisors for the elections. At today's meeting, opposition-nominated Commissioner Robeson Ben was the only commissioner to vote against seeking advisors from the U.S. and the Commonwealth. Last week, the chairman of the Elections Commission wrote President David Granger, indicating that the commission will be in a position to host elections by the end of February next year. GCOM is still working with that timeline, according to Commissioner Vincent Alexander. President David Granger met with his cabinet ministers today, and it was later announced that he will address the nation on Wednesday evening. There have been calls for the president to name a date for elections, since he has been presented with a timeline from the Elections Commission. Across the Region is coming up next.
Tired of long lines? Register with MyGTT at mygtt.co.gy. That's mygtt.co.gy to view and pay your bills from anywhere. Enter to win an Amazon gift card worth $25 or a bounty voucher worth 5,000 Guyana dollars when you sign up today. GTT, do more.
Lights,
camera,
action.
The stars are here again.
Friday, October 4th at Palm Court.
It's the annual champion party.
Featuring the champion himself,
DJ Bravo.
Introducing the Caribbean's new pop sensation,
Ariella Alexa.
A full practice session
with GBM Neutron.
Music by Trinidad's sexiest DJ,
DJ Anna.
Along with the Boom DJs, Gully Raz,
Selector Diamond,
DJ Aquilo,
and DJ Hudson.
Champion Party.
Friday, October 4th at Palm Court.
Securing the best healthcare facility for you and your family is important. At Baldwin Singh Hospital, we take pride in giving you the best healthcare at unbeatable prices. We offer a 24-hour emergency care, a well-equipped ambulance, the best group of international doctors. Whatever your medical needs are, we are here to make sure you're taken care of like family. From eye care to dental service, the best, most experienced gynecologist, pediatric care, skin care, well-trained radiologist, and a trauma center. Our goal is to get you healthy so you can live a healthier life. Baldwin Singh Hospital, caring for you and your family by offering healthcare at unbeatable prices. Live, love, and enjoy life. Call 226-4279 or visit us at 314 East Street, Georgetown. Baldwin Singh, best healthcare at unbeatable prices.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right, walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Across the region right now, the Jamaican government says it is moving to sign the CARICOM agreement on the sharing of recovered assets, which is intended to strengthen regional cooperation in this area by establishing a framework for the return or sharing of illicitly acquired proceeds that have been confiscated. The Chief Technical Officer in the Ministry of National Security in Jamaica, Rohan Richards, said the agreement will also facilitate the provision of assistance to victims of money laundering and increase financing for regional security institutions. The official was speaking at a recent event in Jamaica focusing on asset recovery. Jamaica's signing of the regional agreement is expected to complement legislation which Richards said the ministry is pursuing to implement an asset recovery scheme. Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley has warned the international community that unless immediate action is taken to curb global warming, countries around the world should expect a mass migration of refugees at their doorstep within the next several years. She was speaking at a UN climate event in New York City. According to the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, global temperatures are forecast to rise 1.5 degrees Celsius from their pre-industrial baseline sometime between 2030 and 2052, which Motley stressed will prove deadly to Barbados and other members of the Alliance of Small Island States. The Prime Minister said Barbados refuses to be relegated to the footnotes of history and to be collateral damage for the greed of others, for which they have contributed less than 1% of greenhouse gas emissions. She said if it was up to the community of small nations to solve the problem of climate change, it would have been solved 3 decades ago. And finally tonight, international news. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's decision to suspend Parliament was unlawful, the Supreme Court has ruled. Mr. Johnson suspended or prorogued the Parliament for 5 weeks earlier this month, but judges said it was wrong to stop MPs carrying out duties in the run-up to Brexit on the 31st of October. Supreme Court President Lady Hale said the effect on the fundamentals of democracy was extreme. The Prime Minister said he profoundly disagreed with the ruling, but would respect it. A raft of MPs have now called for the Prime Minister to resign, and some say they will attempt to force him out of office if he does not go on his own accord. A senior government official said the Prime Minister spoke to the Queen after the Supreme Court ruling, but would not reveal the details of that conversation. Prime Minister Johnson insisted that he wanted to outline his government's policies in a Queen's speech on the 14th of October, and to do that, Parliament must be prorogued and a new session started. But critics said he was trying to stop MPs scrutinizing his Brexit plans, and the suspension was far longer than necessary. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.